I've always felt different. I've always seen things, but when I tried to express them as a child, I was always told to ignore it.
There were people that I didn't know that came to me and said, I have this message that I keep getting that I have to deliver to you.
All of a sudden, out of the shadows, a homeless man just jumped right in front of me. And he said, I'm a soul just like you.
I love it.
I wanted to understand the universe and who and what we are and what are we doing here.
We're all part of this amazing soul wave tapping into each other.
This was a major life changer.
You are a light. You have helped me a ton. Thank you.
You've given me the courage to live more from my soul.
Millions of people are awakening. So wake up with Michele Meiché, the place to hear the best-selling authors and experts in the fields of cutting-edge self-help, personal growth, metaphysics, and spirituality. The soul path of awakening. Understand what living awake is.
Souls, we are live, so get here, get in the chat. If you're new, welcome. I'm Michele Meiché, and this is Awakenings with Michele Meiché, the place where we dive into all things metaphysics, the occult, astrology, numerology, spirituality, spiritualism, and metaphysics, all to guide, to help support on the soul path. So the main focus here is soul activation, soul alignment, connecting into your soul's purpose, living that soul's purpose, and for many, a soul mission. So if you're feeling a calling, this is definitely the place to be. All right, gang, I'm very excited. First of all, I'm excited for our guest because some of you know, a lot of you know, because I've been talking about this since the podcast, I think started 2008, 2009, I think 2008. A lot of predictions that I have given. 2017 gave predictions on COVID, the pandemic, for my guides, and all the things that have been happening, and really help my clients and mentees and students to prepare by working more online, by changing how they work, how they live, what their focus is, to align more to the soul. That's really what I've been here doing for 20 plus years, is really helping through the greater evolutionary changes that are happening to bring in more soul awareness and soul consciousness. Now, what excites me is because by what I have seen by our guest, that she's had some similar information. So I'm very excited to talk to her. I predicted 9/11, the Berlin Wall going down, so many other things, regular people, everyday people, trading in the stock market. I think I started talking about that in 1994, 95. That prediction was coming in. Anyway, so for me, it's going to be exciting to talk to someone that has similar, exact predictions, so that we can perhaps get a pulse on what is coming up in 2026 and beyond. This is a very critical turning point year. And for this reason, and I want to get Dalissa, our guest that's coming on, Dalissa Hocking, I want to get her take. I don't know anything about her, but just glancing at her info, it looks like we're pretty similarly aligned. And what it's going to take to not get thrown off. I feel like the pandemic was a bit of a taste test to see how do people, and well, in fact, my guides told me that, because when I asked them, I mean, this is how accurate the visions were in 2017. I asked, where is this virus coming from? Where is this pandemic coming from? And my guides told me, and they showed me in the vision, they said a lab. It was being let go. And I have plenty of people that will back me up on this. I talked about this on the podcast, talked about this in workshops, seminars, Patreon. I did a video on YouTube about this. And they said it was to test the resiliency, basically how people would respond physically and emotionally to this. And it was also a way of kind of culling people. So that was a big test. Anyway, there's a lot of information. By the way, I am going to be diving more into this. I believe it's January 18th, and I'm going to try to do it as a live on YouTube. I'm doing it on YouTube. Stephen Wigan, one of the people that works with me, for many years. In fact, he's some of the visions that I've had and messages from source God relaying, that's through the visions, and then also with my guides. He's had similar, and in fact, he's writing a book, and some of the predictions that and visions I was given, he said, "Oh, I've got that in my, I just did that chapter in my book." His is a little bit kind of science fiction kind of thing, but a lot of our science fiction isn't really fiction. So we are going to do, because I'm trying to get more of these predictions out to help people. Why do I keep talking about my predictions? Why do I keep talking about the visions I have? I have this since a little girl. So no, it's not that I'm cool or hip or, oh, look at me. It's because I want people to more believe what I'm seeing and to prepare. This is to prepare, to help people individually and within communities or collective to prepare and align more to what you're meant to do, so you are not thrown off into the distraction, into more of what is coming, more distraction, more dissonance, more, yes, more openings, more opportunities. But like, I really wasn't affected. And I can think of so many things that have happened in my life where I haven't been harmfully affected because I have such a strong connection to God, to source energies, all that is, to my higher self. Not that I always listen. I've not listened a few times and it's been, pretty dire. So I do tend to listen. But your purpose, your sense of purpose, your sense of your right to be, something that's bigger than the little ego, you can't get thrown off. You don't get thrown off, or don't get thrown off as much. And then you use your soul path tools, your mental, emotional tools. You use those tools and you don't get, you recover. Because I cannot stress this enough. And I know I keep saying it, and I'm going to keep saying it, is that this new emergent consciousness that's coming in, this new vibrational energetic frequency, this higher harmonic, and I mean higher, I mean more expanded into the heart center and through the etheric, into the soul, activating the soul, aligning to the soul, aligning first and then more soul activation, is only how the new paradigm is created, or the new structures on earth. It's really not the new earth, it's the new structures on earth. It comes through us. And I see that directly as a soul guide, a teacher, a healer, a therapist, a counselor. I see that a transpersonal psychologist, a dream therapist. I see that as a psychic channel and a medium. With my clients, they go out and do, and they're more conscious in their decisions. Their children become more conscious, more aware. It's not that earlier generations were not as conscious or as aware. They just didn't have the reinforcement, the support, and the place to fully flower and grow. And so a lot got pushed down, a lot got remaining deep within the subconscious and even unconscious aspect of being. Or if you tried to fully flower and be more of yourself, and you weren't in that environment that supported that or understood that, or at least didn't try to block that, your gifts you dim your light. Your light gets dimmer, which means your gifts, your sense of inner knowing, intuition, trusting yourself, so that's changing, but it's not going to change except through us. It does not change except through individuals. I was talking to a client the other day and they got it. They said, "Oh my God, Michele, you're right. The group can't change, or this area, this corporation, it can't change unless I change it working here." I respond and I go, "Yes, but that's always been that way on the earth plane." See, we get tricked into looking for something on a mass level. This is what I really want people not to get tripped up in. The marching, the all of that extended energy. You have to decide, are you going to create and build? Because the universe responds to whatever has the most juice. I've just been writing on this. By the way, join me on my Patreon, the Soul Awakening Soul Path community. We got great stuff going on the free tier, but also extra support, more, not just prompts, but soul focused work, more information, more things to do to keep you on path and on track and to help you awaken more and open up more to your soul. And in fact, I want to talk a little bit about that, the intuition, what blocks, and also for free, notes from the soul. I'm putting that on Substack. You can join for free. There's a paid membership, but there's also a free where you get daily notes from the soul to support you on your path, working through synchronicity and synergy so you get the right note for you to support you on your path. And that is on my Substack. There's Soul Path Journey, the Soul Path Journey. That's the main offering there. And then specifically, if you want daily notes coming in your inbox to help connect you and keep you connected to your higher self, connecting into your intuition and listening to your own soul. Because what helps with intuition and connecting in on a soul level, believe it or not, guys, is repetition. That's how we learn on the earth plane. It's like, even if you have an insight or aha, or you go to a great retreat or workshop, if you don't do something to continue, it's the same thing when you work out or you start eating great and you feel better. It doesn't maintain and stabilize, which is the earth plane. That's that Capricorn Saturn energy, unless we bring consistency to it. And, a lot of times people say, oh God, Michele, you're so psychic. How did you know this? How did you predict? How do you do this? How are you so accurate? Because I eat, swim, and live this and dream this. And I've been doing it since my birth, other lifetimes even. Now, other people, maybe it's the guitar they play. I have friends that are like amazing. I have some relatives that just play guitar by ear, make up a song, and they play over and over. So they got better. They can, I can hear that note. They've got a keyboard. I can tell you what kind of guitar they were playing. It's a Gibson because it's more melodic. Now, I did learn a little bit of that by being around musicians, but I'm no expert. So really where we do, yes, we come in with certain gifts. Some people are more gifted in a certain area. Some people are more intuitive. Some people more psychic. Some people have the ability to remote view, be telepathic, to channel as a psychic medium. Yes, some people are better artists. We all have varying degrees. However, the ability to be intuitive is within us. It is the sixth sense. And so once you started kind of aligning more to the soul and activating that soul energy, kind of your soul juicy energy, you kind of celebrate where you're at. You don't lament or compare what you don't have. And that's a big part of the soul path. Like, I tried to play guitar. I had a boyfriend that was a great guitar player, tried to teach me. I took some lessons. I can dance. I can write. I'm a great writer. Poetry, nonfiction. Okay, I can channel. Can I play an instrument? No, I tried. So rather than me comparing, I can celebrate the person that is a great artist or pianist or can draw or paint or even dance amazingly or sing. And you'll go, okay, at least I get to listen to that. I get to enjoy that. I don't have to be that. And anyway, we're all an aspect of each other spiritually on another level in the interweaving of our spiritual connection aspects of each other on a soul expressive way. So you might as well start finding out what is your thing that creates that soul juicy experience for you. Your soul's purpose is not, it's not what you do, it's how you do what you do. Because there's going to be many people that do what you do, but how you individually do you or your life in the most genuine, fulfilling way. And that's important to connect to that more and more as we go into the new structures of the new earth, the new paradigm, opening up to that new emerging consciousness, which is more of the soul, the solar, which is the individual aspect, the matrix, the individual design, soul design. So that can help you navigate. Or some people have a purpose, a soul purpose, that it becomes a soul mission. You feel you have a mission to help, to teach, to inspire, or to just be a model by doing what you do, by modeling that. I was talking to a client the other day and working with their children, and it was like, okay, you're modeling this. but they're getting the concepts. They're taking that and going, they're already, at 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, some of the children I work, they're already taking these concepts and going, okay, let me bring this in and think about this. Or can you give me an example of this? Oh, okay, now I understand. Okay. All right. So I'm going to integrate that. I'm going to try this. Now that's also happening because the parents are allowing those children to receive this kind of information. And that's what we want. Just imagine more of a world where this is accessible. I mean, I taught school, I was a teacher. If we had this, I mean, I talked on the slide to the kids, to try to give them these concepts and to help them, because the school didn't provide that. The teachers aren't trained in this. So there's these awakenings through education, through various systems of thought and organizations. The educational system, the medical system, these areas are going to be greatly changing, not just the monetary, not just real estate, but the bare bones of where we get our information is greatly starting to change. And that's because the individuals that are awakening and reinforcing that higher octave of consciousness, the more awareness, and doing their inner work. I want to touch on this. I've had a question from a couple of clients this week, and on my Patreon mentoring program, and a couple people DM the three. So I always listen. When I get a few of the same questions, I go, okay, why am I not accurate? What blocks my intuition? I saw this being interviewed on a few podcasts, and then with a few clients of mine that are also psychic were upset. They even said, I'm kind of mad at you. I'm angry. Because I had predicted twice, 6 months before Trump got in, and I said, look, he's meant to get in. Now, I'm not saying I'm for him or against. I'm totally agnostic in this area, because I'm looking at the big picture, the God picture, that all that is, where we're going. These people are just kind of pawns in the disruption phase, right? And this is what I said, because I'm not so for or against something. I have to do my emotional clearing. I have to get in my neutral state and extend or expand in my consciousness as much as beyond yes or no, or fear or doubt, or what does little Michelle want. I have to get into that as much as into the undiluted energy, frequency, and knowingness of the all that is, or God, whatever you want to call it, or working with my guides, getting the information. So I saw that very clearly. Even the attempt on him, I predicted a year before it happened. So the more you can know what your positive triggers are, your negative triggers, to answer that question that came in from clients in email, the more that you know where your blind spots out or where you're emotionally triggered, the more you can get into a neutral space. The Buddhists talk about this. They talk about that, the middle road. And that's where you're going to get the most accurate information. So when you're so for something or against something, you're blocking the information from coming in, because it's just information. We don't know what's going on rungs and rungs outward, what's going on 3 steps, 3 miles, 3 years, how this is all being positioned, and there's a great, it's not a sutra, but it's a story. And I wish, oh my gosh, I read it years ago when I was studying Hinduism and Buddhism. It's not a Veda, but it's a sutra. And it's a story. It's a parable, like a parable in the Hindu tradition. And it goes through all these things. It talks about these people in a village, and they really wanted a daughter, and they had a son, and then they were thinking, oh, well, that's good because he can go to work. So it's all these little sayings. I can't even do it justice. I'm going to botch it. But anyway, and it says, oh, but then he's old enough, he's working in the farm, so then that's good, and he's working. But then he's of age, and he's going to go to war, so that's bad. But he goes to war and becomes back a hero and gets money, but that's bad because the neighbors want the money, but it's good because they can have a roof on their house. You see what I'm saying? It's spirit, God, consciousness, the all that is, even if we have on the earth plane, because we have this game, this dissonance, this polarity, the duality, these different shades of experience. But just like nature might have a fire on its own to clear, to cleanse. Nature, God consciousness, the all that is, will always do what is most life enhancing. And then it's up to our interpretation and our free will how we channel that energy or respond to whatever's happening. So for those of that you are asking about your intuition, you have to do some form of emotional clearing, repatterning, understanding your emotion, your conditioning, your conditioned response patterns, your beliefs. You have to have a way. I do an alignment meditation. I connect in, and it takes seconds to a minute, to align and connect in. You have to have a way of understanding what your own personal pitfalls are, or blind spots, or like when people say, well, I know this is happening because of this person has to get in. And I could hear it. I would tell people, you're setting yourself up. Oh, I know it has to be a woman. I know Kamala's getting in. I know this is happening. I'm going, that's your ego. That's not coming. And that's not spiritual. Well, everything is of spirit. Everything is spiritual. Everything is love by varying degrees. It's the degree, it's the octave that we're talking about, right? It's the level, it's the higher octave or lower octave, or the level of expansion or inclusivity. So those of you that ask that question, that is what I would have to share with you. Oh, you're right. Who's saying that in the chat? Bailey, you know that. The farmer's story. Do you know that? Yes. You were just talking about that story. Oh my God, I love it. I've got to find that. Is it called The Farmer's Story? That's Bailey in the chat. Farmer's Story. It touched me. Paulo, who was a friend of the show and has been on so many times onto the podcast and live stream, knew the story. I gotta tell you, I probably read it in the, I don't know, 20 plus years ago. So I don't, but it always, yeah, he is a disruptor. Yes, exactly. And actually, the guides told me that he's the one that Nostradamus predicted, but what we need to really concern ourselves with or be aware of is the one that comes after. So, but you guys, it's like, in a way, it's like, not even just as a psychic channel or medium or therapist, it's like we've lived through these kinds of things before. And if you've incarnated at this time, if you've come back, you have the secret sauce. You have what's needed in your area, in your life, in your field of experience, your sphere of experience and sphere of influence. You have what it takes, that call to action. Anyway, it's kind of a moot point what I'm sharing, because so many people, especially if you're on this live stream, or we connect, as well as I'm sure our guest, I can't wait to connect with her. You're going to be feeling this soul call. Let me just tell you, Aries and Chiron, in Aries, we've got, the North Node will be going into Aquarius this year. Uranus in Gemini, Saturn and Neptune conjuncting in Aries. It's a different Aries energy. It's a different Emperor energy. It's going to make people very willful, creative, very I can do. I'm already seeing it with people that I work with, or just people I connect with. I see a lot of people disconnecting from the noise and distractions, going, well, I got to do what I got to do. I'm doing this, making that, creating this. I'm taking my kids to a better school. I'm preparing for we're started this, we're doing that. All of the changes, all of the pioneering energy, spirit, inspiration to inspired action, structures, new forms of creating and relating, new forms of media come from us as individuals. We have so much power and empowerment because we are that change. And I know that's a cliche saying, be the change you want to see, but it's kind of works, because that's what the universe works on. Whatever has the most vibrational frequency and resonance, and then therefore energy, it aggregates. And the other stuff falls away. It becomes extinct. It becomes less and less So if you put too much energy and create too much dissonance, it will stay around. If you put too much resonance, it will stay around. So you want just enough dissonance or disruption to create change, whether individually in your life. It's like when you take vitamins, when you start eating well, I've been taking these peptides, that's a disruption. That's dissonance. That's creating some kind of change in my body, but it's a change that is nurturing, life enhancing. And my body's receptive to that. So we are like that as well on this earth plane. We are creating our own disruptions to create and bring in or draw in what is more life enhancing, what is more optimizing. Last year, the guides were saying the word was resilience. Learn to be more resilient, to not let externals dent your soul design. Keep your design, to have that integrity. This year is optimization. You're going to see a lot more things optimizing, whether it's things like peptides, vitamins, minerals, workouts, how to connect to your higher self, meditation, how to heal, how to empower, how to guard it, whatever it is. The idea is optimization. That's the energy that's coming in. How do I for everyone? Not just people at a certain financial tier, everyone. How do I optimize my life? What do I do to optimize my life? What do I eat that optimizes my life? So there's a lot of changes coming in. Let's see, who's this Bailey saying? Yeah, the cyclical parable about the cyclical nature of fortune. Okay, I'm going to have to look that up. If anybody knows what it is, the name, I don't know. I have the Mahabharata, but I don't think it's in there. It's in something else. But I just love the synergy of that and synchronicity, Bailey, that you know the story. Because every time I used to have it someplace where like earmarked where I could go to, because it's fascinating. It just kind of shows how, I always say our higher self always knows past, present, future. And our higher self never sleeps, that guiding aspect of us, of the soul. So it's just the ego part of us, the lower level personality, ego, holographic aspect of us, avatar, whatever you want to call it, cannot see that something, and we've all had this, you can't drive somewhere because there's traffic or the road's blocked or, they're doing construction. And then you go another way and you end up bumping into a friend that you've been trying to reach, or you were thinking about texting or calling or getting together with. And it's like, oh my God, hi, it's like, oh, you whatever it is, you meet what you need, which is also alignment. Just like miracles, they're a form of alignment. Anyway, I see our guest on. I'm very excited. Also, you'll be able to ask questions. You can put it in the chat. And also you can also call in, but let us get going on this and connect. We've got Dalissa Hocking, psychic medium, who also helps others to connect to their soul wisdom. Dalissa, welcome.
Michelle, you are speaking my language. Oh my gosh. I'm sitting here just shaking my head.
Oh, you are a prayer answered, because I don't think, no, you weren't on at the very beginning, but I was saying, oh my God, here is somebody that has had a lot of the same experiences and predictions that I've had. And I've been trying to, who do I know? Who can that's had like exact, accurate. I've been really wanting to connect with someone. So I'm almost teary-eyed. I'm almost going to cry. Oh my God. Because not a lot of people have,
Yeah. Well, and even just hearing you talk about the presidential election and making that prediction, I had something very similar happen.
Tell me.
Yeah. I would say over and over again, I'm neutral. I try to stay out of this or that and just try to look at it from an energetic perspective and what's unfolding. And I remember two things happening. I have a psychic stage show, where I do like live audience readings. And I remember before the election, there was somebody in the audience that asked who's going to win the election. And I said, Donald Trump. And I literally had people get up out of their chairs and leave. And then I did a live stream. I think it was the day of the election, and I had on red, white, and blue, and I said, "Yep, it's gonna be Donald Trump." People were so mad.
Yeah.
But prediction is a prediction, and I try to see it just for what it is and not get so entangled in the drama of it.
Yeah. Well, we're not the prediction. And by the way, because I remember like in the 90s, I dated including my brother. Everyone had read this stupid Art of the Deal. So I actually read that book and I did a deep dive into Donald Trump online, like his businesses in Atlantic City, because all these guys I knew, some I dated, some were friends. One was my brother. Like, oh, we're turning you don't understand, Michelle. Realist, we're flipping this, because he was like the first flipper, and all these men were like, oh, I'm Art of the Deal. I'm doing this, and I'm like, and I'm like, you guys, he's like a used car salesman. So I really did not have a high opinion of him. So I really just had to go neutral. And the first time I predicted him getting in, which I guess was 2016, I even asked the guys, I went, what? I said, because I'd had actually a prediction and also insider knowledge from clients that Hillary was supposed to get in as a deal promise. I won't go into the whole thing of that. But they said, no, he's meant to come in and disrupt, and he is the one Nostradamus talked about, but he's the one that's going to get in. And I thought, why? And they said disruptor, and I was like, okay. And so I had to clear my biases. I had to clear my idea of Art of the Deal, of 7 bankruptcy. I had to clear all of that and just be neutral. And then it came in again. I got the message. I tuned in because clients asked me. I always say that opens the channel. They started asking me about 6 months before the election. And every time I tuned in, that's what I got. I sat with the guide and they said, Donald Trump again, he's part of the disruption. And that's his role. So that's what I said. And like you, I had people even that listen to my podcast when it was on, oh, you're being, what did they say? Something like co-opted by the far right. We're fearful for you. I didn't say I'm not saying I'm for him or against him, but it's not like I even, voted for the person. I just got the message. I got the prediction, the vision. Yeah. So I hear you. It's like people have to realize, I think as a psychic medium or channeled, what you're predicting or channeling or receiving, it doesn't mean you're for something or against something. You're a messenger. You're relaying the information.
Absolutely.
So, right?
Yeah.
So I hear you that, but it's so good. You're the only one that I have talked to. And I talk to a lot of people personally in this field and through the podcast. You're the only person that had the same prediction, and also the same little, people getting upset with you about it.
Yeah, that's the fun part of this job.
Right.
Is when people get ticked off and want to tell you to go, fly a kite.
I didn't expect that, boy, but I did get a lot. Michelle, I can't believe you. And just really, I'm like, okay, guys, I just, got a prediction, saw a vision. This is what I'm receiving. I'm not going in it or out of it, but oh my God, it's so good to connect with you.
Same. Yeah. And some of the predictions aren't rainbows and butterflies. I mean, yes. I remember one that I did a year ago when I had a dream that there was a helicopter and an airplane and a crash. And I woke up, I had no makeup on and pajamas on. And I heard, you're going to make a video about this. So I made the video. And a couple of days later is when it was that helicopter airplane collision.
Was it that one? Because I
outside of Washington, D.C. There was a plane full of people. And so sometimes they're really not easy predictions to make. But I think where I've come to with that is that sometimes we receive premonitions so that we can share them, so that people realize that, wow, this really is that sixth sense, as you were saying, that we all have. We can all tap into this. Yeah. And so maybe by hearing a prediction, even one that's heavier or stickier, it just opens up that channel within ourselves more.
Yeah, I think you're right. I know with 9/11, because I saw that happening. I actually had dreams, vision, they were very, and a teacher that I was working with at the time, kind of teacher, therapist, minister, said, "Oh, you must, it's anxiety." I said, "No, I actually like turbulence. No, this is telling me this is going to happen." And I had planned to, I was going to be flying to Florida. So I canceled my flight.
Wow.
And I would have been right on that, the 10th or 11th, right in there. I think it was a Tuesday or whatever. And I had clients that, even though they weren't, they survived or weren't in the explosions, but they were stuck. So I knew my higher self intervened and said, I was going to Florida, but I would have been stuck for weeks, or some were 3 weeks. There was no, flights, and some people got, stuck in hotels. But Dalissa, you know what I kind of finally got, because a lot of the predictions I get, I just really help the people I'm working with or come in contact with, or through workshops or seminars, to like prepare or plan and keep to their path. And I think it was only last year sometime, I don't know, maybe a year or two at the most, I was in meditation. I got this flash and I realized I felt all this peace and calm on what's happening. And you're right. A lot of stuff that's happened and happening and going to happen is not, peace, love, and roses. It's not what we, it's going to be challenging, even more challenging, and since a lot, we can jump into that for sure. Cause I'm looking forward to connecting with you on that and sharing. But what for me, it finally gave me, even with this gift and the accuracy level, I always had a little unsettled, like, I don't even know how to explain. I don't even know that I can put it in words. What started happening is I just got this extreme faith, like it more settled in my body, like not trying to leave or get out of the experience of what's going to be happening. I just started feeling a lot more faith. And I realized, my God, some of these predictions and visions, I think of for other people, is for me to also to trust and have faith. So that's how it helped me in some deep, I don't know, healing alignment way. I don't even really know how to explain it, but it was almost like a switch happened. And it's like, I'm just prepared for anything, whatever's coming. I just know I'm going to be okay. And the people around me are in what I need to do. It's just this interesting space that I never had, even with what I do. So, go figure.
Well, you're right on time, because this morning I was channeling, and if you could read these pages, it really aligns with what you just said. And predictions, if I may, there's something that I got like a couple weeks ago, and I'd love your take on this. I've been making predictions for over a decade now, and a couple weeks ago, literally within like a 24 or 48 hour period, Spirit started saying that the predictions were there to help prepare people for what's coming so that they can find that peace and flow within themselves. But now we are in the activation phase. And now it's about going deeper within yourself. And just like you were talking about earlier, in regard to doing the inner work and working on your emotions and trying to become neutral and peaceful within yourself, that actually feels like this massive shift that just happened. And it feels similar to when I had my spiritual gifts all drop in a decade ago. It feels like another wave of that, but in a way that's like, you got to scream from the mountaintops and tell people to do the inner work.
Yes.
And not be so like looping on the clickbait and the fear narrative. And like, it's almost like the doom scrolling. Cause I used to love like looking at all these different prediction videos, and I personally like astrology and study it. But I've started noticing like it feels like it's getting darker and heavier. And I know there's a lot of people that I've been in contact with that feel like they can't even look at it anymore. They don't want to consume that kind of content anymore just because of how heavy it's gotten. So have you had anything? I know this is your show, but I'm so curious.
No, it's a conversation. No, I agree. Well, one of the things that I kind of realized is that a lot of the people, that's why I'm so glad we're talking. Oh my God, we got to keep in contact, because
yes,
part of what it is though, is they don't have the antidote. They don't have what to do. They're just leaving people. Well, this happened. These aspects were in 1862, and you know what happened then, or the Civil War, or this and that. And it's like, first of all, it's digital. It's going to be even spaceships. I did this post and I haven't posted yet, but it's like, you guys, if you're waiting for the metal spaceship, it's not, it's interdimensional. It's like 3i Atlas. It's a light ship, light being, a vibration, expanding through the dimensions of our vibrational frequency to pick up on these other things. It's like, I just think what I realized for me, that though I love, like you, I love astrology. I do astrology for clients. The only thing I think is, if someone can't give you the tool, what should you do? How can you prepare? How to tell yourself that it's not 500 BC or 1862. We're not repeating the same thing. So, because I would watch stuff too. And in fact, the other day, 2 nights ago, I thought, I better turn this off at night. I can't, because the guy was getting really, and I'm not going to say who it was, but he was getting into like, this happened last time, and you know what happened in this, and this and that, and that and this means that. And I was like, it's like fait accompli. Okay, it's over, And so, yeah, I agree with you. I think it's getting people in a loop where it could be paralyzing. Like, I can't do anything. When I think the whole joke is, whether you want to say cosmic or from the cabal or elites or whomever, or just ignorance, is that as individuals, we have a lot of control and power and empowerment, because changes only happen by the individuals, and then it, aggregates.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have been kind of noticing that it's like a lot of people out there with the predictions or what's going on in the world or through astrology or, whatever, they're not saying, there's a handful, but they either are very overly positive of what's happening, and they're not giving a full, prognosis, of what's going on and what's coming up, a forecast, how to prepare, or they're in the opposite end of what they say is coming up, and how it's all horrible for different ways. And so I agree with you. Yes, really do.
Yeah, if you just went off the thumbnails and the titles of what is getting the most clicks and views on social media, a lot of it is that kind of doom and gloom, heavy predictions. And, there are things that are going to be happening that are going to be heavier, but I think the inner work that we do and the vibration that we're at as individuals and the resiliency and sovereignty that we build up inside of ourselves, that's going to be what our experience is. So I think it's kind of like, remember those books like Choose Your Own Adventure? I feel like I feel like you can choose the lower frequency if you want to be in that looping narrative, or you can go within and get really curious and choose a different reality for yourself. So I think we're more powerful than we realize. And more people are starting to wake up to how powerful
I think
they
that's
are.
the big wake up. Now, do you think we're moving into this choice point? Because the guides, we're calling like this calling off this path where what you're saying, like, I feel like you have to start choosing what reality, like, are you a bridger or a builder? What are you going to do? Are you going to be marching and in fear and, they're doing this to me, they're doing this to us, we can't do anything, we're control, what do you think we're moving into, that a time frame by what you're seeing of
choice, and is it happening consciously, or are we just going to naturally kind of find ourselves like magnets or resonating towards one path or the other?
I remember a few years ago, Spirit kept saying over and over again, you got to tell people they've got to look within and ask themselves, am I a prisoner or a pioneer?
Ooh,
and oh
snap!
yeah.
Prisoner or a pioneer. I just wrote a pioneer energy, and I talked about the beginning of the podcast. But the prisoner, snap! I love that.
Yeah, so I was like screaming that as loud as I could. This was, gosh, probably like 5-6 years ago. And they said, you better get real clear with yourself. You're one or the other.
Wow.
And so they've shown me that Earth still exists, but that there are kind of frankly a split between the energies, and you can call it prisoner and pioneer, one side and the other side. You could call it high vibration, low vibration. Spirit has shown it to me in a way where the two groups it's like over time they interact less and less together.
That's what I've been seeing and feeling.
Yeah.
Even now, it's almost like, but think about it. It's kind of similar because you see this with little animal beings, doggies. You're walking your dog. You could just miss the growly one, or they'll just naturally vibration. They just start moving in another direction. So I just put that in the chat. Are you a prisoner or a pioneer? Whoa, love that.
And they're very different frequencies. I mean, you can just listen to those words inside of yourself and you can feel a stark difference between them. And, some people, everyone actually, we have bad days. And so some days we might feel like we're in that prisoner energy, but I would like to think that it's like the average. And so are you mostly in that mindset and that frequency of being a pioneer and being more sovereign? Because Spirit has, leading up to really 2025, 2026, Spirit had said, the more sovereign and self-reliant you are, the better you will flow through all of the dismantling that is happening. And I also believe, you can pick a frequency of fear or you can pick one of faith. And in any given moment, I have found it impossible for myself to be in both. And so if you are in fear, then how can you lean more into your faith and shift out of that frequency? But it's going to be a strange period of time where we're going to witness the prisoner energies unfolding. Even if we are up in the pioneer frequency, we're still going to, on occasion, depending on how we consume our news, we're going to see headlines about the dismantling and the dismay in some of these cities and the fires and the looting and the rioting and the violence. But that is going to be in that prisoner energy. So we don't have to be in that frequency, but we may be witness to it.
I agree. And I think you said earlier, like also the inner work, have doubt, have fear, get triggered. But if you understand and you can work through whatever it is and get to that neutral place, get to that higher self connection, connect into that soul, get out of that over density, the over conditioned response, and get out of it just a little bit. But I do agree with you. As you were saying earlier, it's just, if there's going to be a constant need to have that second nature reflex of what you need to do. Like if you're thirsty, you drink water. If you're triggered, you know what to do. If you're triggered in a great way, you're inspired, great. If you're negatively triggered, don't watch that video, and do something to heal that part of you or bring that wholeness back in. I think people are really going to have to use their tools. I keep saying it's like all these ideas of, community or retreats or doing inner work, or I'm sure things that you do with the people you work with, where all that used to be kind of luxury, it's very cool, go to the Tuscany retreat and do a little yoga, become intuitive and drink my wine and go on a a walk. Yeah, that's fine. But no, now you have to live it. Otherwise, what's coming is going to be so destabilizing externally if you don't have that inner rudder, inner GPS, inner compass, that connection. I've already been seeing it. People getting really thrown off and spinny.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't have that. And I agree with you, what you said earlier, everyone does have that within them, has that potential. Especially, Dalissa, if you or I are coming in contact with them, they definitely have that within.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a choice. It's a choice. And how do you step into that pioneer energy? Interesting to think about, because even as I was listening to the start of your show today, Spirit had me draw like this line down the middle of a piece of paper, and there's words on the left side that would be more of the prisoner type energy. And then there's words on the right side of it. And so I'll just quickly, there's a few words on each side that may paint more of the picture. So on the left side, the prisoner energy, I wrote down noisy, closed, anger, rage, disempowered, looping, fear, control, and manipulation. And then on the other side, the words were creative, curiosity, empowered, neutral mind, faith, heart-centered, flow, freedom, and peace.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'm feeling
the peace and the flow.
Yeah, the peace. Yeah.
Let's talk about looping. It's funny. We have a good friend of mine, an amazing sound healer. I don't know if she's still in the chat, but she came in, Grace O, and we recently did I'm also shamanically trained and initiated. We did something at Anima Mundi, this interplane journey, and she did frequency work, but she's called it looping. So I want to ask you about that, to get out of the looping. And I never had heard that. And I thought, oh my God, that I'm taking that. I love that. The looping, when people are getting, whether it's mental looping, I don't know if it could be looping of behaviors as well, but can you talk a little bit about what you're meaning by get looping and people getting stuck in the loop?
Yeah, I think it's about, in my experience, noticing where we keep tapping back in or going back to. And it could be because we're afraid of something, or we feel like we have a loss of control. And so we go back into thoughts that we feel more comfortable with because we've said them to ourselves, or we've listened to them enough times that they feel like a blanket, like a warm blanket we can nuzzle up to, even if they aren't healthy. Because the energy of looping, I see it going back to the example of the clickbait and the doom scrolling and the imagery that's used to promote a lot of the big shows that get a lot of the views and things. If we find ourselves going back to that same kind of content, like we're looking for the next hit, we're looking for the next piece of information that's going to help our lives suddenly make sense or make things a little bit easier for us. So noticing where we are kind of thinking of it like a plug, like where are we plugging into, like what's that socket, the outlet that we're plugging into, and just noticing what we're giving our attention to. Because there are a lot of people that I've seen, and myself included in some ways, where going back to the predictions felt comfortable because it felt like, okay, woo, I have a hit of the drug and I feel like I've got a better idea of what's coming. So now my life is going to be better. Instead of unplugging from other people's, perceptions or thoughts or opinions, unplugging from that, and actually just sitting with ourself. And maybe that starts with, quick guided meditation, or just dumping everything in your mind onto a piece of paper, or going on a walk, a silent walk in nature. It's like, if we can come back to our own neutrality and ask ourselves what we think, then that's like one of the things I've seen that we can help unplug us from the looping.
So I'm wondering if by what you're saying, we're meant to, each of us is meant to do that more and more to get our own codes or hit or what we need to do or what our reality or truth is, or, you know, that messaging. It's like, instead of always outside, if I'm hearing you correct, getting out of that loop is going within ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's asking each of us to consider, what are we seeking outside of ourselves? And if we get real quiet and maybe even write down an audit of here are all the people and the content or the online websites or the news sources, like here are all the places I go. Heck, maybe it's your sister that you like getting her opinion on things, or the school board that your kids go to and asking them for their thoughts and opinions. It's like, where are we going outside of ourselves to get information or permission or clarity when all of it really is already inside of ourselves? I mean, I've noticed this even just considering all of the sessions I did, you know, over the 10 years. I'd say most of the people would come to me already knowing what they wanted.
Yeah.
They either wanted a confirmation or they wanted permission. And so I think this is now this big shift that we are asking to go into that is more about ourselves. And you mentioned with the Aries energy, you know, we got Neptune and Saturn they're going to be going into Aries. And that is me, myself, and I. And that is going to manifest, I think, in high forms and low forms. I think we're going to see a lot of egos going wild and crazy in a lower form of it.
Yeah.
But I also think it helps us to get clearer about who am I? Because I think there's going to be a lot of people going through identity crisis, and it's going to manifest externally in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. It's a lot of initiating energy too, you know, pioneering. Aries is the pioneer. It's interesting. So our guides must be the same or similar or side by side, because when I started getting, especially between 2009 and 2011, a lot of prediction information and visions and work with them, I was like, oh my God, I got to put a video. I got to talk about it. Even with celebrities, I was like, oh my God, I got to get this out there. Every time I tuned into them, they said, teach people to connect to their own intuition, trust their own intuition, and become more psychic. Every damn time, Dalissa. And I'm like, what? But now I see why, because you're right. It doesn't do any good to hear the predictions or the visions or everything if you don't have it within yourself to then know what to actually do and are guided that way. That having, you know, it's just like what you said, a confirmation. It's easier for someone that's getting a reading. Yes, there could sometimes be new information or guidance or something they don't see. But if there's not a strong confirmation there, they're usually not going to take that information. You know, they're going to go on what, oh, gosh, that's what I felt or thought, or I had a dream about that. That's the one they're going to act on. And that's the one that, in my mind, connects them into their higher self, soul, and spirit, God. You know, that's the one that clicks in. That's the alignment, attunement, activation, like that they start, and now they're connected. So I find it interesting you saying the same thing. They kept saying, with the changes are coming up, teach people to connect into their intuition, to trust it, to know their own inner knowing. That's what they said, intuition and then inner knowing. They've got to connect to their own intuition and inner knowing accurately, you know, and follow that, which makes me think things. And now look at it. Back then, we didn't maybe we had some little spammy things or bots or, you know, stuff. But now also with AI, you have to be connected to your intuition and start developing and connecting to that inner knowing. There's going to be a lot of things. I don't know if you've been seeing this, but there's going to be a lot of things shown that aren't necessarily real to get you in that loop, get you in that headline loop.
Yeah. AI is going to be an interesting tool, and I think it's going to, you know, shape a lot of course, our money, our job, our title. And I think that's going to play in a lot to the identity crisis of some people that have really been the person, and I was there, in my corporate days, I would love going into a room and handing out my business cards, like, look at me and look at my title and da 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 da. And there are a lot of people that identify with that. And so if suddenly your job is no longer needed, or it's not needed in the way that it is set up right now, and you are asked to reconsider who you are and what your gifts are and what you want to contribute to the world, there's going to be a lot of people, I think, creating like the spiral energy of, wow, who am I? And some people will take that as like this massive awakening and door and opportunity and get excited about it. But I think there's also going to be a lot of people that don't, and they take the other route of, could feel like a collective midlife crisis.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think, and the lesson is that the soul doesn't identify with a color or a shape or what you do or don't do or how much is in your bank account. We're more than that. So we have to go through, like you're saying, collectively, there is going to be that major different identity crises, or crisis for sure. You can already see it now. It's already starting little by little. But ultimately, on the other side, there's going to be much more space and creativity. Again, the challenges in between, I think, are important. And maybe we want to talk a bit about that. I don't know if you have anything that you want to share. I'd love to hear anything you want to share, even on your own path or what you see coming. Because I do see the challenges, but I've been shown to up to 2050. And that started in the late 80s, which I thought, oh God, I'll probably be dead by then. But it seems so long ago, or I'll be really old, and it's like, oh no, I'm not that old. I'm still, out and about. It's like, especially I see, like you said, you came out of the corporate, and we'll get back to that, but also the corporate world, because I'm seeing a lot of awakening through people in the corporate world, even coming on, the podcast or now live stream, which to me is kind of exciting, because people that are coming from that world know a lot about structure and form and can help organize, administer, create structures and forms, codify, put principle, there's a whole skill set that's now coming in this kind of undiluted, mishy-mashy new energy that's coming in, So that's kind of exciting, and I feel very inspiring to see.
I agree. Yeah, I think a business background, corporate world definitely helped. I've owned different companies before this one because I wasn't planning on being a psychic medium. So all of that absolutely helped. Yeah, one of the things that feels a little bit sticky in the energy is, I wonder how many people are going to be open to being in the higher frequencies, knowing that part of that equation is going within themselves and healing. Because that's work, that you gotta really get curious and sit with yourself and, and do the deep dives. I think, going back to what we were talking about with the predictions, I think that listening to somebody's predictions has been really easy. It's been like the easy button. And now Spirit's like, okay, now, go within. And I've just noticed some pushback even, with my own audience. Not everybody, many of them are incredible people, but there's been some.
Oh no, I've seen it. No, I've seen
you
it.
have.
Oh yeah. And I've been extra pushy. I've got a few. I'm like, listen, before I die, or you've got to do this. You're not, get going. Yeah. The inner work, the, doing, it's just like anything. I think we're given, especially, and I don't hold social media, responsible, because it's people, it's us. It's like the phone doesn't jump in your, hand. And if you have an issue with it, find support to not be addicted, just like any other addiction. But no, I have seen people become more resistant, or just think things are magically going to happen, or that they're not going to have to do the deep inner work, which I always say, listen, I still do my own inner work. I still see a pattern come up and go, okay, Michele, take care of yourself, do a little this, a little that, or trigger, take a deep breath, journal, meditate, go for a walk, whatever it is. I mean, obviously it's not huge stuff as when I was first on my path, but I still have to do that. So yeah, I have seen a bit of, you know what it is? And I don't quite understand how this happens, but somehow a lot of people that happen to be quote unquote in the spiritual field or wellness or whatever, metaphysics, astrology, I think they somehow didn't realize they are the ones that have to do the work, the grunt work to set things up. They just magically thought, because I've had numerous people tell me individually or in groups or workshops, oh my God, why we're going through this. I thought we were awakening and, we were going to have soul connections and attract more soulmates or more. And I'm like, we are, but who's going to do it? Well, what do you mean? No, I go, this is not the Wizard of Oz, Dorothy clicking the heels. I think everybody thought somehow, or the witch, with a wand. I think there's a very strong disconnect of, who's going to carry this backpack up the hill back to camp so we can have all the food that we brought and sit around the campfire and play guitar and sing. Who's carrying the backpack, guys? We are. The backpack doesn't jump by itself and get back to the campfire. So that's the only thing I can come up with. And I don't know why it's really only, I hate to say it, in this field, because I don't see it with business people I work with. I don't see it in any other field. Every other field knows that, 3 to 5 years to build my business, this or that, or I did this or that, that somehow the spiritual community got some interesting information that one day they were going to wake up and everything is rainbows and unicorns and God is love and everything, without any individual work.
Yeah, I just wrote down, you are the one you've been waiting for,
Yeah.
And I know we've heard that before, but just a good reminder of you're the one. Yeah.
I know. It's weird. These stupid cliches are really truthful. Like, be the change. I used to be the change. Now I sit back and I go, oh my God, be the change you're looking for. In other words, if you want positivity and you want to be inspired, don't doom scroll all day and get in a negative, fearful, depressed mode. So I don't know. What's a way to communicate that? Maybe it's just saying it over and over.
I like using real life examples. So I like when somebody says like, oh, this is what's happening in my life. I can't figure it out. It's a roadblock. Mm-hmm. And then we can sit with it and ask questions and dig into it and get curious, because when they see it and they can start to apply it to their own life, then I think they get the ahas and the epiphanies, which is really helpful. But I think sometimes we can be too out of body, going back to the spiritual, community and generalizing it. But
I wonder if that's it. Is that it not being embodied in the earth, what earth is about?
I think it's this higher connection to, our higher selves, our guides, our angels, which is all great. But we incarnated to have this experience in this very advanced classroom called Earth. Mm-hmm. And there are things that we chose to do and experience in the human body with these senses in order to grow and evolve as a soul. So I think there are a lot of people I've come across that have been like really high up in the frequency, and they like being really high up in the frequency. But I think there's some earthly lessons that may be missed. So it could just be, where they like to naturally sit as a frequency. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting. You remind me of one of my metaphysical teachers years and years ago. In fact, I would be so expanded, especially coming out of yoga or meditation. And I remember I was driving up Mulholland. This happened to me twice, and I went up the side of the road, up the hill, the mountain, right? Mm-hmm. I went up, and I was like, "Oh God, I'm not." And I was always like, oh God, I was out there. Oh, I did astral project. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And I was just like, oh, I was so spaced out.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, Michelle, you're no good to anyone or your soul's purpose this way. And I'm like, what? I'm just so, this and that. And he's like, no, but what are you doing? He goes, you got to be grounded. You got to anchor this into the earth, in the everyday. You can't be, floating around. But maybe that's just my path too. I don't know. Maybe some people are meant, because I just had a flash of Amaji, which I had an amazing healing from her years ago. I'd actually been in a car accident. She hugged me. And in fact, I was going to get all this money from the car accident, the guy, and she hugged me. And then I walked back to my, sitting on the floor with my friends. All of everything was gone. And the next day I had to call the guy. And I said, I know this is going to sound weird. I said, but everything is gone. And it was totally gone, never came back. He's like, oh no, you should go to the doctor. You should go to chiropractor. I went to the chiropractor. I go, trust me, it's not that I don't want the money or like the money, but it's gone. So, but I definitely, for my path, it's much more anchored and grounded and like you're saying, the pioneer, or creating these new forms or new ways or tools, or and maybe that's, to your point, a question people ask, like you say, are you a pioneer or a prisoner? I always say builder or bridger, if you're, because I think there are some people are going to be thrown off and waylaid, and then other people might be part of the disruption, protesting, replaying trauma, the patterning for awareness. I definitely know that's not my reason for being here.
Same.
That sounds so boring. That sounds so boring. So boring, and marching for hours. Not interested. But maybe it is. It sounds like by what you're saying that we're kind of at a choice point. And maybe people, would you suggest people meditate or just think about it? Like keep asking that question and see what naturally comes up?
Yeah, there's a couple things. So nighttime routine for me that I do is I either listen to some class on Insight Timer, the app, and then I will write in my journal. And then I will pick up a book of my choosing and just read at least one chapter out of that book. So that's how I can just ground myself, bring myself back into my own energy, which has been really helpful. But going on a silent walk in any kind of nature can be really, really helpful. But one of the biggest things that I've seen that has helped raise my frequency the most is taking radical responsibility for everything that I feel and not being the victim energy and blaming it on someone else. But instead, if I'm upset about something, getting really curious and just asking myself or journaling about it, why am I so upset by, whatever the situation is? And get really clear. I had a mentor years ago, and I've used this practice that she gave me for years. And she said, when you're upset about something, it usually comes down to one of three core energies, sometimes two, sometimes all three. But if you can just identify which core energy it is, then even that acknowledgement of it or seeing it helps to start to neutralize it. So the three core energies are, when you're upset, asking yourself, am I looking for control? Like, does part of me think I don't have control right now? The other one is, am I looking for approval? And part of me thinks that I don't have approval or love or acceptance right now. And then the third one is safety. Like, is there something about myself right now that I'm upset because I don't feel safe? So approval, safety, and control are the three core energies. And I tell you, if you start asking yourself and you filter it through those three core energies, it will drastically start to shift how you move through your own life and how you can start to be in an energy more of responding rather than reacting.
Yeah. And that's a form of repatterning. I love that, because I do something kind of similar. And I just think if we can all do these kinds of things without having judgment around it, to me, it's just like brushing my teeth, or, you know, if I got a little cough, or I drank some green tea and a little bit stuck in my throat, I drink some water. You know what I mean? It's like just doing it and not thinking, oh, this is me, or this came up again, or I'm not evolved, I'm not this, I'm not, just, okay, maintenance, human level, human being, just. But I think that continual, like making it a practice or like a routine, it sounds like you have it in your routine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I don't want to be mad.
Yeah.
I don't want to be ticked off.
Yeah.
And so this might sound a little bit strange, but when I have a reaction to something, which is less and less these days, just because I've worked on myself so long, but I'll get worked up about something, and I actually kind of, in a weird way, get excited about it because I recognize in that moment that there is something else that I haven't seen or that I haven't healed that is asking for a spotlight. And so when I feel something, I'm like, okay, I'm going to put on this crown of curiosity. I have my North Node in Leo in the 3rd house, and so I'm all about like being curious about the way I ask questions of myself. And I think the right question at the right time can unlock so much information that then ends up creating this frequency of liberation.
Yeah. Again, it's that pausing, going within, that relationship with our spiritual aspect, inner self. Dalissa, we do have a question about somebody asking about your thoughts on AI. If you had any thoughts on that, I guess plus, minus, pitfalls, great parts, in any insight or personal thoughts you have.
I think with anything, there's going to be a good side and a not so great side. I think depending on what you define as good and bad, you know, that could help shift my reply. But, you know, going back to the identity crisis that it's going to create for some people, and some people that will not want to adopt new technologies, and so there's going to be a lot of that dismantling energy of the old systems that we're moving out of. And so depending on the individual and how they see that, you know, just like I was using the example earlier.
Anyway, right?
What's that?
It's going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how are you going to react to it? You know, what's going to be your perception of it? You know, the one person who loses their job might be really excited because they actually wanted to go do something that they were, you know, feeling was more aligned with their purpose. Well, the next person might be, you know, in a state of crisis and really handle that differently. So it's going to depend, but AI is here, advanced technology, but it's going to actually create, I think, a lot of good things. But on an individual level, I think it's going to bring up a lot inside of ourselves, depending on how it impacts us. But Spirit has shown that it's not just going to be AI, because AI is going to help with things like diagnosis and cures and the way that we can connect with people. It's going to just blow our minds where we're going to be at in less than 10 years. We're not even going to recognize our lives right now. Yeah. But that's the speed of it. And I think part of that is also going to be Uranus moving into Gemini, and the way that we communicate. Game changer. Yeah. Game changer. Totally. So I think the AI is going to be a great tool in many different ways. And I also think it's going to be one of the biggest disruptors we've ever seen in the history of humanity. And I was channeling one night during one of my stage shows, and my friend afterwards told me what the channeling was. And paraphrasing here, that humans have had this technology before, and we did not choose to use it wisely. And our society collapsed as a result. And now we're going to come up against the same choice point again. And I have chills running through my whole body as I say
I've
that.
received
So,
that as
yeah.
well too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have as well. Yeah, whether you want to call it Atlantean time, Lemurian, that's in our collective consciousness. But we've been there again. Talk about looping, because a lot of my understanding from my guides and then teachers that I've worked with, that we repeat a lot. There's a lot of similar, maybe different octaves experiences on Earth, and you said game changer. I said game changer. We're changing the game on the Earth plane.
Yeah.
It's becoming more the soul playground and less of the constructed ego. But to your point, that accountability, that without being overly judgmental or overly critical, and that does seem to be a critical part of the path right now, is the, whether you want to call it accountability or responsibility, and kind of summing up and moving on, going, okay, I did this, I did that, I had this, I came in with this happened, that happened. Now, it's even, Saturn and Neptune in Aries, and even Uranus and Gemini, and Pluto and Aquarius, they're all not wallowy, dilly-dally energy. It's very, kind of get on with it. One of the things I've been seeing, and some of the people that I know and also work with that are a bit more advanced or expanded, that what they've been having to go through or learn is to deal with the space. And I know some people say it has to do with AI. That's true, but I always look at whether it's a computer or internet, Ethernet, right? Internet, it's also the interwebs or Ethernet. I always look at the metaphysical correspondence. So what I've seen and feel is that even before AI, which AI has been here, 20, 30 years already, but in different forms, but that we're going to have to get used to more what people might say time on your hands, because certain things, right, will be extinct, expired, not done anymore, not needed, obsolete, whether it's jobs or ways of doing things. What are your sense about that space and people acclimating, and also people getting more done mentally, the mental realm, orchestrating things through the higher self, that the ego just does the follow through, their avatar, the less grunt work, less labor, manifesting differently. So I don't know your feelings and thoughts on that, Dalissa.
I think it's going to scare the crap out of some people. Like with anything, high form, low form. But when you have a lot of time on your hands and you're left sitting with yourself, what the heck are you going to do? Some people, they'll want to implode. It reminds me of, because I often get asked, oh, well, what should people do to raise their frequency? And I talk about meditation all the time. And I get a lot of grunts and groans, and I can't do that, and my brain won't be quiet, and like all the reasons, right? But I think there's a similarity here. And I'm not saying this is for everybody, but something I've noticed, and just something for listeners to consider, if you are one of those people that doesn't want to sit and listen to a meditation or sit in a quiet space with yourself, is there something you're afraid of? Is there something that you don't want to know or you don't want to see, and so you're avoiding that? And I think that same question will come up when there is more space, more opportunities for people to really do what they want to do, and live out something that feels more aligned with their soul, their personality. There's going to be people that are going to take that door and say, heck yeah, I'm so excited. And then there's going to be people that have not wanted to sit with themselves and ask the bigger questions that may go into some kind of spiral of depression, anxiety, chaos, unhealthy behaviors, just because they're trying to avoid actually going within.
I didn't think of it that way. So in a way, what you're saying, it's actually the space kind of connotates going within.
Yeah,
or
I think
or
of it.
being with
Yeah.
oneself, or being on. I guess because you don't have the you don't have
Yeah.
the time fillers.
Yeah.
Good
What are you going to
point.
do with yourself? Are you going to play
Yeah,
video games 24/7? Are you going to like,
yeah, exactly.
that only lasts for so long. I
Yeah.
think there's even, looking at social media for several hours a day, if that's what it ends up being, which I think even that world of social media is going to change drastically. But I think eventually, don't you just get bored with
Yeah.
whatever it is that you've been numbing with?
Yeah.
So you're going to end up just trying a bunch of different things to numb yourself until there's probably going to be some kind of catalyst in your life that's going to ask you to sit still.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. I agree with you, by the way, with social media. I think that we've got big, just like websites kind of changed, and people doing more like on Instagram or even YouTube. And I do feel there is a next explosion of something that's percolating, that's based more on the individual, and communities or tribes, but that are varied less. I think some people are awakening and going, I don't want to be in an echo chamber,
Yeah.
right? Someone can disagree with me. That's okay. They're a great accountant. Great. They're a great artist or painter, whatever it is, a cook, a chef, whatever. Fine. Do your gifts and come together, whatever that is. That it's going to be really interesting though, with that Neptune, a little bit the Saturn for the grounding energy, but that Neptune in Aries, right? That's
Oh, yeah. I just did an episode yesterday with an astrologer over on my YouTube channel, and he was talking about it. And I just kind of sat there shaking my head like, oh, great. But it lends to a lot of what the downloads have been about identity shifts and identity crisis and who am I? And, that was a big piece of what he was talking about yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, and the whole idea, it's interesting because it's almost like we just have all these, which we always do, but it's becoming more and more apparent or visible and live through, that all these different realities, because it can bring, and even Pluto in Aquarius, it can bring the the fanatics, the cults. There's all these like less evolved, expanded, a higher octave. There's all these lower level versions. And then at the highest level, or more expanded, or spirit of play level, creative level, it's like, wow, Neptune, spirituality, spirit, vision, new plans, purpose, vision, boundaries. It's that Neptunian energy that doesn't like boundary playing, it's like, wow, it can really be anchoring and expressing something which we could only imagine. It's, the imagination manifest. So I find, one of the things, I want to get your take on this, because I had seen, and one of my clients said that's already starting to happen, maybe not a lot. And actually he got asked to do something like this. But one of the visions I was shown, especially with AI, because people don't realize it's going to run out of information. It's not infinite, as you know. It's not God conscious, infinite source energy, whatever you want to call it, infinite creative energies. It has limitation because it's only what people are encoding or putting in. It's the code. It's only what is on the internet, which a lot of stuff on the internet is oldie moldy. It's not even new, right? Information. But I was seeing people being hired in different with companies, kind of like but new versions of think tanks that are much more niche and much more intuitive, to feed, to literally channel the AI forms with information that can only come from human channeling, source, spirit.
I could totally see that.
Could you see that?
Yeah.
Couldn't you see that? Like,
yeah, I think that there's going to be new jobs that work with AI that we don't have right now, that is not on our radar. But I do think AI will become a big part of many different facets of our life. But I also think it's going to help, like I was saying earlier, with a lot of the diagnostic
Yes.
healthcare, because healthcare is one of the systems that, will be dismantling. And I do think hopefully it'll play out where there's good stewards over the AI information and diagnostics and what to do with that information. But I also feel like with the Neptune energy, there's going to be, maybe it's at Neptune, I guess Neptune and Aries, because what I'm hearing as I'm saying this is healing ourselves. So that there's going to be more of like healing at home, or healing
and spiritual healing. Neptune brings healing of things that you can't quite figure out too.
Yeah.
Right?
Makes sense.
That's a good point. So it could be, because Neptune being, it's 12th house, it's Pisces. So could it be a collective healing, Dalissa, or even like maybe even some weird illnesses, like could all of a sudden be gone, or miasms, or come to think about it, I didn't even think about that part, the healing. Neptune.
I think what we have learned to do, in most societies is you call the doctor or you book an appointment, you go, they give you a prescription, you go home and start taking it. And it feels like that model is going to be completely flipped on its head. But I also believe that there is a lot to be said about disease manifesting from emotions or stuck trauma in the body. And so maybe it's that many people haven't realized that yet. And part of the discovery is, why is my body acting this way? Oh, wait, it's this thing I haven't healed, and having to kind of sort through the haze of unlocking all of that within ourselves.
That makes sense. So making it more mainstream, that more people know this and utilize this. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I could definitely see that. And I think it's important because a lot of the changes we talk about, a lot of us are living this already. We're talking about getting this in the, obviously some for us individually, and people that are, on a path, whatever you want to call it, spiritual, metaphysical, whatever, soul path. But we're talking about changing the structures and systems of the world on the earth plane. So this stuff has to get into the mainstream, companies, corporations. That's the whole, fun of it. It's like an overhaul.
Yeah. I think it's great.
Right?
Spirit has shown they've shown the dismantling as the tower card in tarot. It's like you look at the tower card and you see the building on fire and the people jumping, and you're like, wait a second. But then you think about, after the tower burns, then it's the phoenix rising from the ashes. So there is this excitement of what we build on the other side of this.
Yeah, it connecting with that. And that's why I think, like these kinds of conversations, your experience, your wisdom, your gifts is important, because it not only keeps us inspired, because we're all going to have our dips. We're all going to, oh God, I don't know if I can do it, or this or that. But the more you have that, as opposed to what you were talking about earlier, just, realism, but also, where we're going and what we're doing, the inspirational aspect is, I think, important. What do you see 2020? Anything that you're feeling people need to know about, or what you're kind of looking at?
There's going to be so much. I'm sure that you've been feeling a lot of it for, 26, 27. I've been shown, kind of the period between now and the early 2030s is just going to be life-changing. But I do think we're going to end up shifting into a digital currency, and that feels more global. I have been shown things around the office of the President of the United States, and it not being the same after this, and something with the power adjusting in that office. So I have publicly predicted, and I do not wish this on anyone. I don't want that kind of karma, but I haven't ever seen our current president finishing his term. So I think there's going to be
Yeah.
What's that?
You're not the only one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be some turbulence this year in that office, and just what he's going through health wise.
That's what I saw. Health.
Yep.
But
yeah. I literally.
Dalissa, let's talk about this, because I've seen similar that our way we have governing changing.
Yep.
And moving more into almost like a corporate setting, or what I've described. Some people say, "Oh, that sounds like the UN." And also, my guides told me Federal Reserve and federal tax no more, that things were going to be more localized.
Yep.
Neighborhood, city, state, and almost that there would be representatives from city, state that go to have almost like I guess a Bilderberg group type, like looking, but like a, what do you call it? A boardroom. And that things would be more internationally decided. So this idea kind of the big three, UK, China, Russia, or big four, those big, being more dismantled, with heads coming together, but more of a corporate kind of structure. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I've seen the map of the United States changing. And so I do think there's something to be said about us not being the United States of America.
Yeah.
Or that the boundary lines change, that some of these states actually end up
succeeding.
Changing. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So that feels like it's a piece of this. Yeah. Going to your point, it's more localized. It feels more like micro. And so the community you live in, the people that you are in community with, ends up making a huge difference for what your life experience is. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh crap, I want to move, you might want to think about it, just because there's going to be so much power going back to the local community rather than a federal force, is what I've been shown.
Same. Okay. So and people freak out when they hear this, but let's look at this from that Pluto and Aquarius. It makes sense. And we've already been doing this little by little, that people are moving where they want to have that experience, whatever that experience is, or lifestyle or religion or whatever goes into that lifestyle. So yes. And I was shown definitely United States changing, north and south, Texas, Florida, changes to Colorado, and also Canada, that there would be splits. Some of it's going to be, cities, but some of it will be parts of state, and because people will move to where they want to live and be around certain people. And then I was also shown this whole, they call them the naturalists and the technologists. And some would be highly, in these cities, and some will be parts of the state that are highly technological, and with the tracking and IDs, very digitized. Mm-hmm. And then there'll be some that are more, more living off the land, natural, and some people kind of in between. Yeah. But to get into these high tech states, which then I was talking about this and sharing my predictions, and like about 6 months later, some client sent me these links to these places that are already happening. They're called 5G cities.
Oh, wow.
And I actually have a client that's doing one later. I found out because I got a reading and I was like, oh, confirmation. Because the guides didn't call it that. They didn't call it 5G cities, but they did show, again, to your point. And so I think it's good for people to prepare for this, and not when laws come and things are changing about where you can go and what kind of to travel, or during certain times, or to live in certain places, what you need. It's going to become some areas, a very high security, insular, which some people love. I mean, listen, where I live, I've been in some coffee shop getting ready to get my coffee, and behind me, two techies going, oh, I just wish we would have the code in our wrist. I just hate having to get out my debit card or my phone to pay. So there are some people that are going to be yippee. I can have everything in my hand or finger or whatever. And then some people not so much. And I think one thing that's people need to remember, just like what we have now on the earth, it's not going to be cataclysmic or one size fits all. Everything, it's going to be bits and pieces and pockets and different areas, and different timing for things, which as I'm sharing this, I heard go back to what she's the faith, the peace. We're going to have that faith and inner peace to know we're guided where we best need to go, and that going within that you were talking about, is going to be so important.
Yeah, you'll find me in my tiny home village.
Yes, that's exactly. That's where I'm at. I'm like, I've released so many things and so much stuff. It's like, which by the way fits into the astrology, because going into a predominance of air signs and fire, we move from, not that we won't be physical because we're on the earth plane, but the whole idea of labor or manual labor, making things happen, we go more into the realm of experiences and relationships. So shared meaningful experiences will, rather than ownership, rather than status through having and consuming and owning, that's going to be falling off. It's going to be more about relationship and individual and or shared experiences, life experiences. So that whole status and having and holding on and accumulating is going to be changing.
Amen.
Yeah, right? You're there for it. Oh, I love that. I love, so how are you preparing as individually? What do you suggest? You said the going within. What about anybody connecting more to their intuition?
Yeah, I think our intuition is our superpower. I think the more that each of us does that work to raise our frequency, which is what we, been talking about today with meditation and journaling and silence and all those good things, then I think the better we flow through this. For me personally, it's about staying out of the noise as much as I can. Because I just noticed there was too many things that I was plugging into that felt noisy or felt disruptive. And so I'm actually trying to create more space and more quiet time, because I feel like that's when I get the most insight and I feel the most connected to myself and to source. And so finding quiet moments.
Mm-hmm. That's a confirmation for me. I love what you're saying. I think that's really important. Getting out the noise, finding ways to have that space, get comfortable with the space, and not be caught up in the noise of things and pulled off. It sounds like by what you're saying that too much noise, distraction is actually pulling you off.
I think
off
so.
Track or off path.
Yeah. I think it can be disempowering depending on what we're plugged into, what they're saying, what we believe. So I would just kind of do a noise audit and see where the noise is at or where the energy feels a bit too fearful or chaotic. But even like I've noticed not only creating space, but creating connection as well. Because we were talking about the importance of our community. And so even when I'm out at the store or, running errands, I like to actually strike up a conversation with whoever it is that I come across. If it's the bank teller or the person that's ringing up my groceries, and just ask them like, how are you doing? And I have actually noticed that most people want to have a conversation because I think in recent time, there's a lot of people and a lot of groups and societies that have moved away from heart-to-heart in-person connections. And we kind of went down into the social media world and online. And I think that's going to also be a huge potential of what we see in the future with AI and virtual reality. So I think there's something very much to be said about what can't be replicated, which is the heart and the human essence and connecting with each other.
Yeah, beautifully said. And I do the same. And I find people are wanting it. And even sometimes getting into 45 to minute, maybe 2 minute at the most, confirming conversations of, yeah, I'm not paying attention to that anymore. I'm creating this. Oh, I started a garden. Yeah, I started my own business, or I'm doing this now, and I can't be bothered, and I'm like, wow. Everybody's kind of, a lot of people you connect with now are finding this. They want to have those connections, that heart soul connection. And the communication is, yeah, I'm not getting pulled off. I'm not getting thrown off, or I can't do anything about that anyway, but I can create here, or be of service, or do this or that, or, be inspired. So Dalissa, you'll have to come back now.
Yes.
What do you have going on, and how can people, I know you must have a lot of stuff going on, and how can people connect with you more, find you? I will put that all in the description of this, and it'll go out to the podcast platforms, and I'll probably put it on YouTube as well. But just so a lot of people say, have them always say how to connect, because not everybody wants to read. Some people are just very auditory. They want to get it in the chat, or they want to get it, while listening.
Yeah. The best place to go is my website. It's got everything that's going on. I just created in case you missed it, tab on the website, because there's so much going on. All my socials are on there. A lot of the predictive stuff is shared on my socials. So going to the website's the best. That is at spiritandspark.com, all spelled out.
Spirit and Spark. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, this has been great. I feel very energized, and I feel like, okay, guides, you answered this, or higher self, that call, because I was like, God, I wish I could talk to somebody that's gone through similar, or channeled some of this, because I want to talk about it. I want to share. I want more people to know, but I want to have conversations about what's going on. Yeah. So thank you. You've been like a Christmas gift. This is so nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're so sweet,
you.
Michelle. I've enjoyed it just as much, and I look forward to doing it again soon.
Yeah, me too. Oh, got people in the chat. Incredible conversation. Happy New Year. Thank you, Dalissa and Michelle. This gives me so much hope, and a great reminder in our individual power for ourselves and others.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. She'll be back, everyone. Yeah. Oh, this is funny. Well, you can go, but somebody said, I'm sorry, lady. I've never heard anyone say they want a microchip in their skin to pay for things. Well, I'm sorry, whoever you are. I have multiple times, because I live in an area where a lot of techies live, and I wouldn't lie about that.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I believe you.
Because with them, it's exciting for them. They can't wait till they don't have, the encumbrances. But yeah, I love that. Because that's just how somebody always has to say that you didn't hear what you heard, or saw what you saw. And it's been more than one person, by the way.
Oh my goodness gracious.
I know, right?
Well, that's all right. We just send them love.
Yeah. No, it's cool. It gets me feisty. I don't mind it, but it just it gets me. It inspires me. Let me just put it that way.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, Dalissa. Till next
Thanks,
time.
Michelle.
Big hug
Thanks,
to you.
Michelle.
Keep
Yeah, big
shining.
hug. We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye. Hey, everyone. I so love that. We went over a bit because she was just amazing. Let me know in the comments how you liked. I loved having her on. It just felt good to talk to someone that's had similar and some same predictions, messages, and visions, because I've been wanting to connect with someone that's had similar, and there's not a lot of people. I maybe know one other person. So yeah, that is very inspiring. Bailey, I love this too. Thank you. I love this too. Me too. It just was so good. And yeah. Let's see.
Mark of the beast. But I don't believe in that. There's all these things, guys. Everyone can have their own opinion, but please be nice. Please be not nice, kind, and just have more awareness, emotional intelligence, and awareness. I've been doing this a long time. I don't have any reason to lie or make things up. But yeah, I've had quite a few people that have said they would love, even a friend of mine, by the way, acquaintance of mine that's a techie that just is looking forward to that technology and having, and of course they love that they have what are those eye goggles? This friend of mine has those, I don't know what they're called, the Google glasses or certain things, augmented reality, and it was kind of fun. I played around with it. It's great. But yeah. All right, gang. Well, share this. Will you share the live? Share the. I'm going to edit. I've got to do some editing. If you can share the link to the podcast, that would be great. Subscribe or follow, whatever it is. Also, visit me on Substack if you want to get the notes from the soul or join the Soul Path Journey group. Also, if you can connect with me for more info, insights, guidance, soul activation, soul alignment on Soul Awakening, on Soul Path Journey, on Patreon. Shahig, oh yes, very inspiring too. Thank you. I'm glad you could make it. I really enjoyed, putting that in the chat, really enjoyed connecting with Dalissa. And I'm hoping there's going to be more. See, one of the things that I have connecting, not with you, with Dalissa, I'm putting in there. And Dalissa, is that for me, and this is one of the things I don't say too much because a lot of people don't have the information. And then when I go, it's like my predictions, the vision, the accuracy has been there 20 plus years. I don't know, late 80s. How long is that? And even as a child, by the way. So, but the global, the international, the group predictions. So I really don't want to argue with people, or I don't want to talk to people like that are in fear, going, oh, Trump and try, all the negative and marching, because that's just a distraction. And so for me, it's just so exciting and inspiring. Not that somebody has to agree with me. We have to have exactly the same viewpoint or information or predictions, or it doesn't have to be, but at least they're getting some of the bigger stuff. Like COVID, I got every, to the T, even the National Guard coming, the military, the tanks, the shutdowns, and I can only say yes. It's been a blessing for me to have more faith and connected to inner peace, but to help other people. And I know a lot of people not everybody knows me. Obviously, my clients, my family, my team that works with me, the Soul Playground team that I tell them what's going on. My people that do workshops with me or seminars, retreats, or do Patreon with me. Of course, they believe, the people that do groups, because they've seen my accuracy. So I'm not exactly asking everybody to believe, but also to suspend their disbelief and at least then start waking up and trusting their own intuition, understand their conditioning, their conditioned response patterns, and what pulls them off track. And like Dalissa was saying, going within, are you a prisoner or a pioneer? I love that. Are you a bridger, a builder, a prisoner, or a pioneer? All right, so lights, this has been so amazing. Thank you all for being here and sharing. Thank you those that liked the show. Thank you those that put questions or comments in the chat. I love the connection and interaction. I love hearing from all of you. I'd love to hear more from you. I'd love when you can call in. But however we're connecting, I appreciate it. And let's keep this conversation going. Let's get others to join in this conversation. Keep it going. I'm getting woke and staying woke.
Awakenings broadcasts every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Pacific Time. Archive shows available on iTunes. For continued awakened conversations and insights, join the Awakenings group on Facebook. And check out Michelle's blog at soulplayground.com. And keep awake.